Hey everybody, welcome to our first flipped classroom video lesson we'll be doing. Today we're going to talk about writing expressions verbally, writing them with words, and mathematically as expressions with numbers, variables, and symbols. So, what we have to understand is that communication is really an important piece of any language. Whether you're speaking English, right? That teacher down there knows about some double negatives. I like it. Whether we're talking about Spanish, some of you might be in Spanish class. Donde está el baño? That's a pretty important one you can ask your teacher about. And French. I really don't know any French, so you're kind of on your own there. But the important piece is that whatever language we're speaking, if you want to communicate, you've got to understand the vocabulary, what words mean. If you don't understand what the words mean, you've pretty much got no shot to communicate with somebody else in that language. And mathematics is no different. It's a language, and we have to understand the vocabulary and what words mean if we want to have good communication throughout this school year. So we can see down below here are a list of phrases. Now this is not every possible phrase, but pretty commonly used phrases that you're going to see a lot when it comes to speaking and writing mathematics. What I want you to do is pause the video and then take a minute or so and try and decide what do you think each of these phrases is asking you to do. So go ahead and pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see how we did. So take a look at these, and we can see that they're all asking us to do some kind of mathematical operation or use some kind of mathematical symbol. Some of them are asking us to do more than one thing, such as sum of, difference of, product of, quotient of. All are asking us to do an operation and put it in parentheses. We can see greater than, less than, and more than are asking us to add and subtract and also flip the order of what it is we're adding and subtracting. We've got language in there for multiple meanings of what multiplication is or adding and subtracting. There's more than one way we can communicate to somebody to say that. We also have some language down there which is communicating exponents in multiple different ways. So it's important that we're familiar with this. So now that we got this down, let's talk about exponents a little bit before we move on to actually translating. I want to make sure, maybe you already know what you're doing with exponents, and that's great. But some people might still be a little foggy on how to write an exponent properly. So just bear with me and let's go through this. We'll go through it a little bit quick here. So we have 6 raised to the power of 5, right? So we have 6 as our base and 5 as our exponent. So we write 6 as a normal size letter with 5 smaller up to the right of the 6 there. So we know that that's the exponent. 11 squared, same deal. 11 is the base, 2 is the exponent there. We can also have our variables squared, right? Y cubed, y is the base, 3 is the exponent, up, smaller, and to the right. X to the 7th, same deal there. X is the base, 7 is the exponent. If you have any questions on anything so far in the video, please make sure you write it down and bring it to class so we can talk about it. Okay, now we're ready to dive into actually translating our sentences, our verbal sentences, if you will, into numbers, symbols, and variables, into expressions, mathematical expressions. So let's take the first one together. 8 more than n. So what we have here is 8, obviously the number 8, n is the variable n, and the words more than, which we know from previous slide, we're looking for addition here, but because it's more than, we also have to flip the order. So it's going to look like this, n plus 8. Number 2 here, we have 7 less than the product of 4 and x. Now there's kind of a lot going on here, so we got to break this down. We see less than, which is going to mean subtraction, but we see the word then, so we know we're going to have to flip something. So the 7 isn't going to come first, it's going to come last. And then what we're subtracting along with the 7 is the product, meaning multiplication, of 4 and x. So as we go here, we can see we have 4 times x, the product of 4 and x, minus 7. Notice the order is flipped there. So we've done a couple together here. I want you to try the next 3 on your own. So pause the video and go ahead and try these, and then we'll come back and check our answers. So pause the video now. Let's see how we did. Hopefully you got an expression that is very, very similar to what I ended up with there. Most times when you're translating from a sentence to an expression, there's really mainly one specific way that the expression has to be written to be correct there. Well, not only do we need to translate from sentences to expressions, but we've got to be able to go from expressions to sentences. We've got to be able to speak these words or write these words down to talk about them in class. So the first one we see there is 15r. Now there's lots of different ways we can write this. I chose 15 times r. That communicates multiplication in between the 15 and r. But we could have said 15 multiplied by r. We could have said the product of 15 and r. There was lots of different ways to do that one. The second one here, I went with 2 multiplied by n increased by 12. We can see 2n means there's multiplication in between there, and we can be increased by 12 tells us to add the 12. So we did 2 together here, so why don't you try the last 3 on your own? Go ahead and pause the video now. Okay, let's see how we did. Now remember, there's lots of different ways that you could have a correct sentence for each of these expressions. So don't feel like just because yours is different than mine that yours is wrong. If you've got a question on whether yours is right or wrong, please make sure you bring that question into class, and we'll talk about it and discuss whether you have a correct sentence there or not. Well, this brings us to the end, as Homer is clearly telling his family there. Hope you learned something here, and again, any questions, bring them to class. We'll be happy to talk about them. We'll see you until next time.